Did you know you can make a professional looking book right in the comfort of your own home? It's actually quite simple. This works phenomenally well if you have kids who love to write stories, and hey, you can do a little bit of mini publishing for them. It also works great if you have a lot of recipes and you want a professional looking cookbook sitting in the middle of your kitchen. It also works great with guest books. Mine is going to be a scrapbook about my experience opening night at the Hollywood Bowl. So, step one. It's the fun part. Make your pages. I am using construction paper, but you can use computer paper if you'd like. Doesn't really matter. So I cut up my photos, maybe did a little bit of doodling here and there, maybe a sticker every once in a while. But make sure when you are doing all this designing and stuff that you leave maybe about half an inch, 3/4 of an inch space where the binding is going to be, because you need space for binding. Now, if you are working with the kids, I highly suggest you get a ruler, get a pencil, and put your ruler at the side, the edge here, and just draw a line. So now, just tell the kids, when they're writing their story, doing any bit of illustrations, do not go past this line. After you have made your pages, it is now time to bind. Before you bind, make sure you put one piece of paper on top and one piece of paper on the bottom. Now, if you are using computer paper and if you have less than 100 pages, you can just waltz over to Kinko's and borrow their industrial stapler and you can staple them. Unfortunately, I have about 30 pages here and I'm using construction paper and it's about 3-4 times thicker than computer paper, so I'm going to have to use this different binding technique. First you need is a 3-hole punch. So you just 3-hole punch all of your pages. I want to do it several pages at a time. Make sure they're all straight and even. Now you're going to need string to bind the book together. Anything thicker than thread but thinner than yarn should work. I'm using twine. Now I know these things have a tendency to fall apart at one end. You can burn it or you can just turn it into a shoelace. Get some tape, cut a little bit off, and wrap it at the end here. And make sure you just twist it a little bit. You're going to need about an arm's length, so just do something like that, and this should be about enough string. Now it's time for the real binding part. So if you use the tape, like how I did, you can just attach it to the end of your bamboo skewer, and now the bamboo skewer behaves like a needle. So just thread it through the holes. Just thread the other one through the other hole. once you have it threaded through on one end, tie it. Make sure it's tight, but not too tight. You don't want the paper to rip. And you might want to just give it a really, okay, and just thread it through again. This time you're going to have to cut off the ends though. Okay. Once you've thread through both, once you've thread through both sides at least twice, the thicker your book is, probably the more you should do, but thread a book the way I'm doing it, two should be okay. Now it's time you just tie a knot just like if you were tying your shoe. Make sure it's tight, but be careful. From my experience, it's probably better to double knot it than anything else. Now, you just do the same thing to the next two holes, except make sure the knot is on the other side. By the end of all this binding, you should have one knot on one side, one knot on the other, and there should be about 2 to 3 layers of string on each side.